Hey guys, Sculpt here, and today we're going to be doing something really cool. I know a few of you have been asking for this, and guess what? It's Uncle Iroh from Avatar the Last Airbender. Yes, finally decided to make him, and I really like how he turned out, and I had to give him his little teacup because Uncle Iroh loves his tea, and what better way to showcase him? So let's get started. What I did is that I actually used aluminum foil because I didn't want to have the risk of him cracking, and it worked. I mean, I thought I was going to do him all out of clay, but because I had him sitting cross-legged, that would have been a lot of clay, and I could have risked having that crack and not be fully baked. So I did the basic form of that in aluminum foil and then covered the rest in clay. So the bottom part is really simple, and for his upper body we did aluminum foil there as well. See, and I think I did a bit extra because I decided to do Uncle Iroh when he was still traveling through the Earth Kingdom, so he doesn't have his, his prison body, so he does have a bit of a gut, and I wanted to showcase a more at ease Uncle Iroh. I mean, he doesn't really get angry a lot, and he always has an answer for everything, and I think it's just, we can learn a lot from Uncle Iroh. Like, I think out of all the characters that they made, Uncle Iroh is the one that most people really love. So this guy was really fun to make. I had a lot of fun. Now we are going to be painting him, obviously, because I decided not to use colored clay, and right now we are just making sure that he does have a bit more of a gut. This project actually took longer than expected because I wanted to make sure that I actually did Uncle Iroh correctly. And I know he doesn't look too much as his cartoon counterpart, but I wanted to have a mix of having him look like his cartoon and a little bit of realism in there. I wanted to give him more of an Asian appearance, because I find that in the Avatar series most of the characters aren't just, Caucasian. It's a very mixed show, and I love that, and I didn't want to classify any of them, so I did try to make him a bit more Asian looking, especially in the face. So yes. Alright, now we are doing his collarbones, and I know it's not necessary to do a body form underneath it if you're going to do clothes, but I feel more comfortable having the body shape there. That way I know how to better layer on the clothes and have the clothes seem more realistic. So I thought I'd give that a try, and I like how it turned out. So we're doing his sash and kimono. I don't know what these clothes are called, so I don't know. But it worked out. We're doing the torso belt thing. I probably should have looked up what these clothes are actually called. I forgot to do that. My apologies. Now what I did with his arm was I just took a wire and I stuck it in there, and then that arm we're going to be covering with clay. And then you see we have them a bit covered with clay, and then we're just going to do sheets to make it look like he has wide sleeves, because his clothing is a bit more wide. I guess it's a bit more comfortable. I think it's more airy would be the correct thing to say. And it's still, clothing is still a bit tricky to make, but I'm getting there. Now I did actually manage to get good recordings of sculpting the hands, both of them actually this time, and I included them in this video. So hopefully that'll be something nice to see, because usually I just show one hand being sculpted and the other just not. But this time I actually managed to get both of them, and this hand isn't really that important because it's going to be attached to his arm that's just resting in his lap, so it's not really that important. You don't really have to do it. Like, you can just make his sleeve and then have some fingers sticking out of it if you want. I mean, it's fine. But I decided to do the whole hand, stick it on there, and then cover the rest in clay, and then do some of these clothing folds. And now we're gonna do his second arm, and we'll just cover all of that in clay. And I found it easier if you take a small bit and then you attach it first and you blend that in with the body. Like, none of this is baked. I know a lot of people bake it in sections, and I decided not to this time. I decided to just go for it and make one whole sculpture and then bake it. So that's why it's easier to blend this. And I think that's a good starting point, because I didn't have any issues in the sculpt or in the baking this time. Maybe because it's a bit lighter weight, or maybe just because of how he's sitting. So if we attach pieces of clay like this, and then we're gonna blend all of that together with the magic of editing, we'll just jump forward. Now we have a sleeve. I didn't think I would make his sleeve that big or that long as it is in that picture, excuse me, sorry. But it actually really worked out, and I decided not to have that sleeve just be full clay, because I figured that would be too heavy and that might drag his arm down, because you have to realize that when you're baking it, it's gonna heat up the clay and it's gonna drag the aluminum wire down a bit. So I added in the aluminum foil just to give it that hollow out appearance, and then cover that bit with clay and give it that sort of 3D effect-ish, but also it won't be as heavy. Now here we are making the most important hand, because he will be holding his teacup. Because if you take Uncle Iroh's tea away, well, that's just a crime, and no one does that. And I started out with just doing the 4 fingers and doing a bit of, folds, and then kind of curling it inward. And I didn't add in a lot of the details. I mean, I could have done the nails and all that stuff, but hands are still kind of iffy and tricky to make, so I gotta keep practicing some more on those. But I do like the way that these hands turned out. I tried to give them a bit more definition and form. And now we're gonna make his teacup. Once we have his teacup done, we will add on his thumb. This way we're not gonna squish anything of the hand. And it's just easier, because your thumb curls around the object. So here we're attaching the thumb, and that's really cool. Now let's trim off that wire piece and put in the hand, and then we'll just smooth that on out and attach it so that it actually looks like a complete hand and not like he's a robot, because that would be bad. And yes, for the skull, I printed a mini 3D skull. I wasn't too sure if I had to change the skull shape for him. So I just kept the same skull shape that I used before and just layered on some clay. And I was worried about the face, because I was worried that I wouldn't do him justice, because faces, I think faces and hands are the two most difficult things, and a lot of people would agree, especially if you're drawing them or if you're sculpting them. They're extremely difficult because so many variations, so many characteristics to take into consideration. Like, I mean, even now it just looks kind of weird, the face. And his eyes do look big, so I did add flat pieces of clay and blended that in to give his eyes more of an Asian appearance, but have them be not quite realistic, but a bit more like the cartoon. So, you know, semi-realistic. Like, I still wanted to draw inspiration from Asian faces, because I mean, Avatar was inspired by a lot of Asian culture, so I tried my best. And I know right now if you look at him, he kind of looks weird because he has no hair and he doesn't have that famous beard that Uncle Iroh is known for. So here we're attaching his eyebrows, and we're going to actually be painting in his eyes. But first, let's attach the head. Now remember, all of this is not baked. That's why it looks so pale, and I can't mess this up. So what I did for his hair is that I did flat pieces of clay first, and then I did string pieces, and then I just blended all of that together. But I didn't blend it smoothly because it is hair, and I wanted to give it a bit more texture and rough looking. So now all of that is being baked, and now we get to paint him. And hopefully we will not mess anything up. So let's paint his body. It's a nice simple green, and then these parts are darker green. Then we're going to paint his beard skin color. Now I know the skin color looks really pale, but I did include a wash on top of that, so in the reveal you'll see the wash. And voila! Uncle Iroh is done! See, with the wash, his skin tone looks a bit darker. I was worried that it wasn't going to turn out really good, but I am actually very, very pleased with this. I love it. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that I did Uncle Iroh justice. And it's just this is so cool. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.